My daughter, her health, her safety was in danger.
Ever since David Eason was charged with physically harming Jenelle's son, Jace, people have been more concerned than ever about Kaiser and Ensley's safety. But they're not the only kids still living with David and Jenelle. David's 16-year-old daughter, Maryssa, has also been living at her dad and stepmom's house throughout all of this. The truth about what's been happening in her life lately is seriously sad, so let's get into it. Most people already know that Jenelle has lost custody of Jace again, and David has been charged with causing him physical harm. But despite the fact that they aren't fit parents, Maryssa, Kaiser, and Ensley are still allowed to be under their care. Child Protective Services has been investigating David and Jenelle for a little over a month now. Even though that could potentially help the kids in the long run, Maryssa is most likely feeling extremely overwhelmed right now. The current ongoing investigation is actually the second time CPS has looked into David and Jenelle's parenting. The first time CPS got involved was in 2019 after David ended the life of Jenelle's dog. Both of them temporarily lost custody of all of their kids during that investigation, but what happened after that was truly devastating. When Maryssa was interviewed by CPS, she revealed what David and Jenelle had been doing behind closed doors. She even testified in court twice in front of her dad and stepmom because she believed that the judge would take her seriously. Unfortunately, 2 months into the CPS investigation, the judge dismissed the case. David and Jenelle regained custody of their kids, who were ordered to return to their home. For Maryssa, that was an absolute nightmare. And now she's about to start the process with CPS all over again. A source claiming to have inside knowledge just revealed to the U.S. Sun that Maryssa was recently interviewed by CPS. David and Jenelle reportedly weren't present when she was questioned, but apparently their lawyer was in the room, which is so bizarre. Maryssa probably didn't want to say much about her dad and stepmom's true behavior around their lawyer. Thankfully, CPS is planning on speaking with her again, and this time, she won't have anyone else in the room. But sadly, that might not make any difference to her. Maryssa felt really betrayed by what happened during their first CPS investigation, which is understandable. She had reportedly been promised that she wouldn't have to return to her dad and Jenelle's house. It must be so difficult for her to actually trust the CPS workers in the current investigation, which is terrible. The insider also claimed that everyone involved already knows that Maryssa most likely won't be honest about what she says to CPS. After all, she told the truth the first time and ended up being let down by the judge, who could have helped her and changed her life. Maryssa was so brave when she took to the stand and was completely honest about everything. She even confessed that she didn't want to live with David and Jenelle because she had been terrified for the past 2 years at their house. That meant Maryssa had been scared of them since 2017, which is very telling. That's the year that David went from not having custody of his daughter at all to being granted full custody of her. How that happened was unbelievable. But it was also another example of how Maryssa was failed by the court system. David had used Jenelle's MTV money to hire the best lawyer he possibly could. And when he took Maryssa's mom and his ex-wife, Whitney Johnson, to court for custody, his attorneys used her past against her in a shocking way. Whitney had previously struggled with substance use issues, but she was already sober when the custody battle began, and she had even started to turn her life around in a positive way. So when the judge's decision was revealed, it was totally unexpected. Whitney was given a set visitation schedule of when she could see her daughter. It was also court ordered that the visits had to be supervised by Whitney's mom. Not only that, but she also had to submit to random substance use tests. Meanwhile, David ended up with sole custody of Maryssa, which neither of them actually seemed to want. David just wanted to have more custodial rights than Whitney. It's insane that she was punished for her past, but his criminal record had no impact on the judge's ruling at all. Around 10 years ago, David was arrested for domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend, who was pregnant with their son at the time. He was banned from being in their lives for quite a while, and he still doesn't even have legal rights to visit his son. Somehow, David's dangerous history of causing physical harm to others wasn't a factor in his custody battle with Whitney, but it clearly had a negative impact on Maryssa's daily life. Based on what Maryssa admitted when she testified, her intense fear started immediately after she started living with David and Jenelle full-time. Not surprisingly, David and Jenelle claimed that Maryssa had lied in court. They added that she didn't have any reason to be scared of them, but considering David has now been charged with physically harming a child, Maryssa had valid reasons for being afraid. On top of being terrified, Maryssa was also shamed and gaslighted about David and Jenelle for what she revealed about their behavior when she testified. She was punished for telling the truth, which must have made her feel so hopeless. After how many times Maryssa Maryssa has been left feeling discouraged when she needed help, it wouldn't be surprising if she wasn't honest in her recent CPS interview. But there's been a positive difference in her life since the first investigation, and it might make it easier for her to tell the truth again. Whitney recently shared an update about Maryssa that was seriously surprising. In the comment section under one of her YouTube videos, she made an incredible revelation. Whitney announced that when Maryssa turned 16 in August, she got her driver's license. Ever since she started driving, she hasn't been spending nearly as much time as she used to at David and Jenelle's house. But what Whitney admitted next was a little bit concerning. Apparently, Maryssa hasn't been staying overnight at her dad's house very often lately. Instead, she's either been staying with her maternal grandma or crashing at one of her friends' houses. On the one hand, it's great that Maryssa doesn't have to spend a lot of time at David and Jenelle's house. But on the other hand, it's heartbreaking that she doesn't have a stable home. Whitney claimed that for a while, Maryssa had a somewhat regular routine of where she was staying. But not long ago, that changed for an honestly ridiculous reason. Whitney said that Maryssa had also been staying with her occasionally. David didn't seem to have a problem with her going to Whitney's more often than the court had decided in their custody agreement. But he recently had an extremely toxic change of heart. A few weeks ago, Whitney sent the U.S. Sun screenshots of David's inappropriate text to her from May 2022. But because he and Jenelle were obviously married at that point, he didn't want her to find out that the texts he sent Whitney were really from him. David called Whitney and accused her of photoshopping their text conversations to make it seem like he was still in love with her. But after Whitney's husband, Shane, offered to send Jenelle proof that the texts were real, David couldn't cover up his lies anymore. During the angry phone call, David essentially threatened to end Shane and Whitney's lives. Thankfully, they were recording the entire call, so they sent the audio over to the police to prove that David had threatened their lives. Since then, David has been refusing to let Maryssa go to her mom's house if Shane is there as well. He probably thinks that his petty, controlling rule is somehow messing with Shane, but Maryssa is the only one actually being hurt by his manipulation. Fortunately, Whitney has also revealed that Maryssa is currently safe, but she can't explain the whole story yet. She added that in the future, she'll be able to share more. But for now, at least Maryssa isn't in danger of being physically harmed. Hopefully, this is the last time that Maryssa is asked to talk about her dad and Jenelle's to CPS. But now that we've gotten into the most recent update on Maryssa and how she's been dealing with everything lately, I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Maryssa's current living situation? Are you surprised that David has sole custody of Maryssa, despite his dangerous criminal record and the fact that he legally can't even visit his son? Let me know in the comments below.